Hello, welcome back everyone. Today's episode we're thinking about thinking, and it's maybe one of those things that makes you a little bit crazy, but hey ho, we're all a little bit crazy anyway, aren't we? So it's important to think about thinking because essentially what your thoughts essentially become who you are. And we see this in books and with some philosophy, the power of positive thinking and Think and Grow Rich and that kind of thing. And even that classic quote, watch your thoughts because your thoughts become your words. Watch your words because your words become your actions. Watch your actions because your actions become your habits. And your habits become your character. And your character becomes your destiny. So it all comes from thinking. And you can really drive yourself crazy in your own mind thinking and thinking and thinking. But today I would like to focus on various different strategies of thinking. I may do an episode on each individual one, but today I just want to ensure people understand that there's actually different ways about thinking about things. We've got critical thinking, we've got creative thinking, we've got analytical thinking, we've got strategic thinking, and we've also got one that is not necessarily a type of thinking, but rather a mindset that you could apply to each one, and that's open-mindedness. So critical thinking is essentially questioning things and taking information and evaluating that and coming to your own conclusion. Creative thinking is, creating something using your mind. So that may be artwork or something like that. That's like usually the easiest example. Or it could be a creative strategy to make money or something like that. We've got analytical thinking, where we are essentially taking data, analysing it, and drawing our own conclusion, essentially identifying patterns. We've got strategic thinking, which is where we essentially pick an end point and we think about what our strategy would be to get to that end point and what sort of planning would be involved in that, anticipating challenges, developing contingency plans as well, and considering the consequences of essentially different paths that you could take. Then we've also got open-mindedness. So this is very important because at the end of the day, the best way I can use to describe why this is so important is to use the quote that I don't know even where it's come from, but if you don't have a level of open-mindedness, it's essentially like saying, this is the way that it's always been, so therefore this is the way it always has to be. Or it's like the group of monkeys that say, we all say so we must be correct. Now, there's many things in this world where we thought one thing and then maybe science proved it differently or whatever it may have been. And having a level of open-mindedness allows your mind not to be restricted, because there's more information in the world all the time, and new information can help you in many ways. But that being said, is that there is a plethora of information out in the world. You have to pick and choose where this is coming from. So it goes back to the old thing, don't take gold advice from a blacksmith. When you're taking other perspectives and different viewpoints, it can give you a more holistic view of whatever is going on in your life. But, and this is a big but, is you don't want to be taking advice from the wrong people, and you take their perspectives from someone who has a weighty opinion. So someone's perspective on the gold market, if they have a weighty opinion, they may be involved in finance, they may invest in gold, they may own some gold mines, they may help run a gold ETF or something like that. You don't want to be talking to someone who has no idea, who has no gold, and you want to be getting their perspective on gold. While maybe a potential customer, if you're selling gold, that's a different story. But the more perspectives that you have, and the more sort of people from different walks of life you have, the more of a holistic view of the world that you get. And thinking once you sort of start, like I say, you can run yourself crazy thinking in your old mind. So the next thing I want to discuss is mindfulness and meditation, because meditation and mindfulness can improve your attention, your focus, and your awareness. And also, it sort of makes your mind more like a blank slate. So when problems come, they come and they get solved on the blank slate, or maybe they're on there for days or weeks or months or years at a time, but then they get solved and the slate is wiped clean. You're not continuously thinking about what happened years ago to yesterday, 5 years ago, whatever it may be. Or even thinking about what was happening when you were a child, when that girl said no to you and you asked her out, or whatever it is. So these sort of things encourage you to be present and rather use your mind as it should be used, as a problem-solving tool. And use the thinking, and you have this from geniuses, that they actually had thought different sort of thought, what they call thought. Didn't Einstein have thought experiments and things like that? So thinking is a ridiculously powerful thing. So essentially the goal of this episode is to get you to think about thinking and get you to start understanding the different types of thinking. Maybe there's even more that I haven't even learned yet. I think perhaps the main ones are those four: critical thinking, analytical thinking, creative thinking, and strategic thinking. And you can see how in just managing your own life, and essentially saying, even if you work 9 to 5 or whatever it may be, and you want to make the most out of your life, you can see how spending some time thinking, spending some time strategizing and planning, using these sort of thinking hats, could be beneficial. There are also problem-solving techniques, like the six thinking hats or something like that. 6, or was it 8 thinking hats? I used this technique when I was considering what car to buy, of all things. Like I say, these are done in one take. So I'm just Googling this quickly now, 6 thinking hats. Yeah, so when you're approaching a problem, you may want to use this methodology, which I think I've spoken about before. But anyway, you've got blue, white, red, green, yellow, and black. Blue is process-driven, white is facts-driven, red is feelings, green is creativity, and yellow is benefits, black is cautious. There's a couple of other ways that you can think about these things. I think that there was a purple one as well, where you'll sort of think about it as if you were like a business owner or something like that. But essentially what this is saying is you're approaching the same problem, but you're viewing it from a different lens. And when you view it from different lenses, and you can, and this is where mindfulness helps as well, is where you can essentially take off one hat and put on another hat and look at it in a completely new perspective, where you are not influenced by what the last hat was, essentially, or not influenced by your emotions. And in this way, we hope we can make better decisions. I mean, I did it one time, and I still didn't really come up with the thing. The conclusion was the same, really. And lastly, I want to talk about continuous learning. The more you learn, the better sort of human being you become. And I encourage people to expose yourself to different things in life, diverse topics, diverse viewpoints, even diverse music, and seek to do, travel, seek new experiences, and I encourage people to look at other cultures as well, because you can get very much in your own rut being around people that are like you, who are born in the country that you were born in, went to the similar schools that you went to, and you can see how you can have 100,000 or 10 million people who are basically the same person, because they've all gone through very similar experiences in life. And then at the back end, where they're chucked out, they're all basically the same person. And unfortunately, most people are cardboard. But you can learn something from everyone, and everyone has a passion, even if they don't just call it a passion, that they would talk happily on hours on end for, if you make them feel comfortable enough. And from there, you can learn things. So, I encourage you to just, to conclude, I encourage you to think about thinking. A quick recap on these 4 types of thinking: critical thinking, creative thinking, analytical thinking, strategic thinking. So critical thinking is essentially taking information and coming to your own conclusions and evaluating evidence, etc. Creative thinking is creating something new and practicing, essentially creating new ideas or something new that hasn't been created before, or in something new in a different perspective. Analytical thinking, viewing data and information and coming to conclusions, and generally with analytical thinking you would come to these conclusions, and the conclusions would be like, okay, we either take different action or we keep doing what we're doing and we change our actions in some way. And then we've got strategic thinking, which is basically thinking about setting goals and setting where you want to go and how you're going to be doing that. And then we've sort of got other bits and pieces about, I'm just referring back to my notes to recap here, open-mindedness, taking in other people's perspectives, practicing meditation. Remember, the mind, using the mind like a blank slate, like a problem-solving tool that's not weighted down by other shit that's happened in the past, or I wonder what I'm going to have for dinner, and you can think what's actually happening now. And then just continuously learning and taking perspectives from as many different places as you can. I've often said, maybe not on the podcast, but in my own life, I've often said, the world is a bit fucked, but if I were to solve it, and I think that the way to solve all the problems in the world would be get as many different people from as many different walks of life as possible together in one room and essentially problem solve it using first based principle thinking. Is that what it's called? First principle thinking, I think it's called, where you essentially think of things from the ground up. First principle thinking, messed up, but I'm gonna leave this in. Like I say, it's done in one take anyway. Have a good day. I will see you on the next episode.